Okay, I've had a little bit of an idea to do an ad hoc video. Um, in my first time getting the trumpet on the face today, had a gig last night. Today is the 23rd of December 2025. Got my Christmas haircut, and that's about it. Um, yeah, so this video hopefully won't seem too disjointed, but I wanted to compare something that I don't think I've done yet. It is equipment, and it is potentially quite boring. But we're going to be talking Mouthpiece Backbores. So I've got a warm up to do and everything. You're not going to see that. You've seen all that before. I'll show you a little change on it, maybe that'll I've not done yet. I hinted at this in one of the last videos about a low set embouchure for stamina and range and things. But anyway, we'll have a look at that. So bear with me. There's going to be lots of stops and starts, blah blah blah, and we'll get into this. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so already, all the usual stuff applies. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Actually, I'm surprised at how much of a difference it does make if you subscribe and you like, rather than just liking the video. But there, I guess you hear that already all the time on YouTube. Anyway, so let's get into this. I'm going to get a warm-up started. Okay, so yeah, it was something that I said I might be doing different in this warm up. Incidentally, it's funny like watching yourself on in mirrors or which is great for practicing. Incidentally, I'm pretty sure I've said this before. Obviously I've got the camera going in here, got myself on the screen, I can see that. I just noticed actually that my setup, I don't know how I've never noticed this before, appears to be slightly further to my right, which is bizarre. Maybe it's always been like that. I'll have to look back. Anyway, okay, right. Finish off this warm up. What am I doing differently? So I talked about previously this thing that Ralph Diavela, sorry Ralph, got your name wrong again. Ralph Diavela demonstrated from the Caruso method, going into the double pedal register. Now he does like a full unfurling of the bottom lip, in terms of learning this forward open position and kind of getting this type of thing happening here. I don't quite go that far, but what I do use it in, and he was saying as well that it's really good for like giving a support down the bottom if you are prone to using a little bit of pressure, or certainly you're supporting more forward maybe with your jaw. Depends on what side of the fence you are there, if your pressure's going towards you or away from you, if that makes sense. Anyway, I'm blabbering. So this is what I've been doing in my warm up and with other exercises. Okay. So there's not probably much more there to see, to be honest, but in terms of getting a feeling of support and having a slightly more open bottom lip. Now I know I'm still kind of coming up a little bit, jury's still out in that, like I said in another video, but I do feel that exploring that in the practice area really helps. It's a little bit more confidence in a forward embouchure, and yeah, support and shape for the upper register. Each to their own. Anyway, I'm going to carry on with this little warm up. Alright, okay, so let's talk backbores. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my heater off. Forgot it was still on. Room's warmed up a little bit. So, yeah, if you see me starting to shake and turn blue, then I'll have to go and switch the heater back on. Give me a second. Alright, backbores. Hopefully this will be interesting for you and not too boring. Right, why did this come around? Gig last night, and I've recently gone through a little equipment change. So you already know about the new top that I've had from AR, and he modified the top. I showed you before. This is the original AR top that we had. This is a titanium SC, so it's the old SC cup, or old S rim with a standard C style cup. Really like this rim. Scar tissue here. Been into that before, so I really wanted to step back onto the S size cup. So what that meant was, with this rim and with this cup, he pretty much had to stretch this size again to get the same size of rim here on the outside diameter and a little bit flatter on top, whilst obviously having the lead commercial cup on it. Now I've had all the backbores, small, medium and large, of the most recent current designation from AR Resonance. I've had them on for quite a while, and I use the 42 throats as well. That seems to be where my comfortable blow is. That might change over time, but it's been like that now probably for 6 or 7 years. Now, I was on my Schilke Beyond for even longer than that, and things do change. But back to the gig I was on last night, I noticed a lot of my notes were going sharp in the upper register, which is unusual for me. And I had recently made a change, which meant I went from the medium sized back bore, or the medium taper, to the small back bore. You won't really be able to see this, I don't think, that much. I'll put all 3 back bores up in front of the camera. We'll maybe do a little zoom in post, as they say. You can't really see much. So in my left hand is the small back bore, we've got the medium back bore, and we've got the large back bore over here. Again, you won't be able to see there, but simplest terms, the end of this one's thinner than this one here. So the actual thickness of the metal here is thinner, medium, thickest. Alright, so that's a narrower taper on the small and a larger taper on the large. So why did I change the small back bore? Efficiency. And I think it always comes down to efficiency in terms of like a question, am I being the most efficient player in terms of the amount of energy I'm putting in to playing the instrument versus the sound and the results that I'm expecting or aiming for, certainly. So it started working in the S back bore, and it feels really good. It actually does feel good. On the X3, it seems to be quite nicely balanced out. There's a nice slotting between all the notes, and what I would initially step away from on the tighter back bore, and maybe you've found this as well on different equipment as well, tighter instruments or tighter back bore or tighter equipment can sometimes feel really big. And part of the reason for that is like you feel as though your sound's getting swallowed up. You're pushing too hard against them, essentially. We learn to really recognise that as the instrument backing up, and depending on how we think about our compression, whether it is in the chops, where there always is a degree of in the body or in the mouthpiece or in the trumpet, in the bell, or in the valve block and the lead pipe, etc. All those things play a factor, I think, in terms of how you're going to get through a gig. And some of it's up here. Sometimes that's the most resistance we've got. So I stepped onto the S back bore because it felt as though I was in a position to lay back off the instrument and really just lock in with the sound at any dynamic without blowing hard or with volume for range. and not having the sound disappear when I was playing soft. I touched on this before as well, and I do think that embouchure shape has got a lot to do with how we produce our upper registers. And yes, we do need compression, speed of air, and all that type of stuff to make these guys, or help these guys, achieve that energy and transmit that energy into the instrument to make that higher sound come out, or the volume, or the softer sound, whatever it is. Anyway, so my basic experiment, and I've not done this yet, so I'm actually curious as to see how it's going to work out, is I'm basically going to swap over the backbores, starting with small to medium to large, using the exact same top. So I'm going to be using my newly gold-plated, courtesy of Brace Ferguson and Edinburgh Music Exchange, AR Resonance, what is it again? S lead modified rim with CJ moniker on it as well. It's going to start here on the S rim, and I'm going to put, you won't be able to see it, I can't think of a way to try and get the video to pick up the tuner. Can maybe try and do that in post as well. Sorry, thinking out loud, talk amongst yourselves. Oh, I could do one with the tuner facing me, and I could do one with the tuner facing the camera. Right, let's try that. Snark tuners, by the way, they're really good. Lots of people use them. It's quite simple. It clips onto your instrument and it gives you a decent representation. If you put it on vibration, it doesn't get that much affected by external sound, and it tunes the tone of your instrument. Obviously in concert pitch, I don't think there's a way to adjust that yet on them, but this one's really, really old. Anyway, right, onto the experiment. Quite excited about this. Just to say, what I'm doing here is I'm not trying to play the note in tune. I'm doing this idea that Greg Spence and so many other have talked about, where I'm just trying to let the air out with an embouchure shape to achieve a note. I'm aiming for a C because it's what we mostly tune to all the time. Okay, so swap over the backbores. All right, I think that was going to be obvious what the outcome to that was always going to be. But what it has made me think about is how we interact with our equipment and what we use with our equipment. I've got shed loads of respect for people who can just, or who elect to, or just by circumstance, get on with the equipment they've got and make it work. And you know, the other side of that is as well, is like where you hear people moaning about their playing or whatever. Usually it comes down to practice and not putting the work in, to be honest, but blaming their equipment for it. And then there's the halfway house as well, where people are putting the practice work in, etc., but they're still hitting maybe range ceilings or tone or stamina ceilings, etc. And I think that's where the onus is on the player, maybe with the aid of a tutor, to explore options there. And I think that's a really, really important thing to do as well. I don't think you can be, with a caveat, exceptions allowed, I don't think you can be at a professional operating level without having some idea of what your equipment's about, how it impacts you, and how that kind of change, how that can change on a gig to gig basis, day to week to month to year basis. I've just gone through a slight rim change, etc. I'm on the X3, where I've been in the B1 for years as well. Trying to be on top of your gear and make sure that you're paying attention to what you're doing, and not just saying, oh, I'm having a bad day, which does happen, of course. But what I'm going to do now is, so just to finish off there, I put the S back on and the tone was centered right in there. Now that is just one note. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to play a C scale from that third space C up to the top C. Just a clean tongue, as clean as I can, tongued scale. I don't know if you can hear. I'm a little bit hanging. Trying my best not to let a cold get hold of me 2 days before Christmas. But as clean as I can, just play a clean scale up to a top C and then hold a top C. And I'll have the tuner on. I'll just leave it facing point at the camera this time. And we'll just see if that tuning uniformity, in terms of as the backbores get wider, is that going to stay the same, or will the notes get flatter as they go up, or will the notes get sharper as they go up? What do you think? Answers in the comments. Alright, okay, so apart from the few problem child notes in there, etc., which I'm not really trying to... I'm just playing like a cold scale there, nothing really musical about that whatsoever. The uniformity is there, and it does kind of make sense, you know. I think sometimes if we're playing an equipment that's too big, we can actually pinch and squeeze up, because we're having to fight the lack of resistance there. And you can also overblow small equipment, which will blow you sharp as well. Also, if you're not pinching up and squeezing on large equipment, but you don't have the support there, you're going to be flat. So this is a huge sliding, probably 3D scale in 4 dimensions that, yeah, there's so many impacts on in there. And I think, like, practicing with a tuner, even that little snark guy down there, it's quite an important thing to do in a lot of our music. So one other thing we're going to try and do now is, we're just going to stay on the one backbore. We're just going to stay on the S. Sorry, we're going to stay on the S backbore. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the cups. So I mentioned before about the cups that we got. We got the titanium SC. We have got, which appears to be a variation of, I think it's based on a Bach. Antonio's S size is around about a Bach 10.5. But this was made for a guy in Wales. It's got a rather kind of cute dragon on it. Actually, do I have the other one? Oh no, I've got another one with these on them that I got from him too. And it's pretty much an SD. So what I've got is I've got the S lead, full on commercial size. SD, which I suppose you would put around about a 10.5 D size cup. Still quite full, quite an edgy sound on it. It's quite nice. These are both phosphor bronzy, the smaller cups, and then I've got a titanium one, which is the C cup. So what I'm going to do is going to do the same tuner experiment. We're going to start off with just playing the C again. We're not going to do the scale. Well, we might do the scale. I'm just going to play the C on the standard setup. We've already seen that. And we'll swap out each cup. So we're going to start off with shallow, maybe normal, and then deep. A C cup's quite deep for me, to be honest. Okay, carry on with the experiment. I mean, I think it speaks for itself. In terms of all the different tonal colours. And I think there have been situations in the past when I was mostly using the M backbore where would put on a different cup on it and things. But what's really nice to have the option of is that same rim. So it's like if you play flugelhorn and trumpet and you got matching flugel and trumpet tops. That's a big thing. I really think in terms of like a lot of the quick switches you have to do if you're a pit or theatre musician, or if you switch a lot in jazz or whatever it is, or if you're classical and you're switching different instruments. I think if you can find that balance in a rim that really works for you, it's quite important. So that's not specifically what this is about. This is about the backbores. But one of the things that we can do is like if I have the need, or I'm not in a situation where I'm doing full-on commercial work and I don't need that bright responsiveness, which is a big part of it as well, I can put in one of the other variations. So it's like let's see if I can think of something to play that's quite nice. So like, I don't know, the start of I Can't Get Started With You. We'll do one on the lead setup. We'll not go like full bore or anything, but we'll try and make sure that we can hear that bright Christmas of the sound. And then what we'll do is we'll go to the SD on the medium, and then we'll go to the SC on the large. Like I said, there's numerous variations that we could do, but I don't have time for that today. I've got to get back and cook a dinner. Anyway, so let's try this. We're going to do a beginning of Can't Get Started on 3 different mouthpiece combinations of backbore, but also cup. Now I know for a fact there's going to be plenty of people that say I couldn't tell any difference whatsoever. I don't think the microphones that I use are maybe the best representation of that. Maybe some people are saying now, what's the point of watching the video? The point of watching the video is that we looked at a tuner and we talked about backbores and we're talking about efficiency and how well you can make this work. So actually let's just do this. So if I just check out the tuning on the SC cup with a large backbore. It becomes really apparent very quickly. I didn't do anything different there. I did not play the notes any different than the instrument. Just letting the air out. 2 different mouthpieces, different cup, different backbore. Massively different in tuning. And that's quite an important thing. That's what this whole video was about, was the efficiencies in terms of like, my tuning issues last night, etc. and using the right equipment for the right job. So evidently, in terms of like the S backbore, I can still do the work. I've still got the range. I'm not impacted by stamina or the feeling of overblowing, other than the fact that overblowing is going to make your pitch often go sharp. It can go flat as well. But if we are using bigger equipment, and even in this case, just a deeper cup and a larger backbore, then make some tuning slide considerations. If you've ever watched Horn Trader, when he's doing the video and he switches between styles, etc., and he switches his mouthpieces out, so for it, he'll have like a commercial style piece, and he'll play something really, really commercially like this. And then he'll swap over and do something like this, put a different piece in, and just to show the demonstration of how flexible a horn can be. And you know, like I said, those unicorn players out there that can do everything with one setup, absolutely fantastic. But having the options, just realised all of probably close to about, I don't know, €800. What's that? £700 worth, close to $1,000 worth of equipment. If you can, you can, you know, but there's other options out there to do that. So get to know your equipment, folks, you know. Spend some time practicing and knowing your instrument, knowing your mouthpiece, knowing what you've got to do. Maybe learn to make those adjustments, etc. And if you have the option to explore other equipment options, then go for it. So, long short of this is, I'm going to spend a lot more time with the tuner and my S backbore, and just knowing where all my efficiencies lie and try to make the best sound as possible. So that's pretty much it. Where are we now? We're 45 minutes almost into this video. It ain't going to be 45 minutes because there's a lot of waffle in there and there's quite a bit of faffing about with gear. So, long story short, again, get to know your equipment. Most importantly of all, don't forget to practice. So as always, stay safe, stay smart, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.